Good afternoon, comrades and friends. Uh, President of the Women's Progressive Organization, Central Committee members of the Women's Progressive Organization, Comrade or Miss Sandra Ann Baptiste, Janet Naidu, Patsy Downey from the United Kingdom,
Morris.
Parvati Dat from New York, Comrade Morris from the UK, our comrades from the west coast of Demerara, comrades from the east coast of Demerara, comrades from Linden, comrades from Georgetown. And I'm aware that there are going to be quite more persons who will be joining us as we move ahead in the program. Good afternoon to all of you and welcome to this Women's Progressive Organization conference on the post International Women's Day. Comrades, Guyana is undergoing some transformation, and we thought that we should speak about, we should hold a conference where we address the issues relating to transformation and how it will affect women's lives in Guyana. We also has been celebrating International Women's Day since 1957. And this day, we always use it to evaluate what has happened in women's lives and what are some of the things that we need to do to improve the working, the living conditions of women. What are some of the things we can do to ensure that women live in a just society, a society that is democratic and free, a society that allows them to flourish and to grow? On this International Women's Day, or this month of March, in which International Women's Day is celebrated, the Women's Progressive Organization has been hosting several activities across Guyana. This Zoom conference is just one of them. We will continue to host more activities in other parts of Guyana, face-to-face symposiums or seminars, and virtual seminars also. What is unique about this year is that we saw a vast increase in the number of organizations that came on board, individuals, men, and persons who we never thought was involved or interested in women's empowerment or women's lives as a whole. They were sending greetings, they were reaching out to each other, there were marches, there were seminars, there were the government of Guyana through the Ministry of Human Services held an economic forum where more than 150 women were part of it, displaying their products for others to see what it is that they can do. My dear friends, decades ago, WPO was the lone organization that marked International Women's Day. Today, we are not alone. And if we were to give credit, we are to look back and we can say, Janet Jagan, wherever she is, Jane Phillips-Gay, people like Jessie Barnum and others, they would be smiling where they are because they would have said, the fight that we have started has not been lost. But that fight and that struggle has been picked up by thousands and thousands of others, of course, with a different view, with a different type of approach, but it is still, they are still together celebrating this day. As an organization, we have witnessed the change of time. As women, we have benefited from the struggles of those women before us, who worked to create a society that is much more democratic and tolerant of women and their needs. We have moved from a time where women had no say in the decision making in their families. Today, women can be seen at all decision making levels in the parliament, in the regional democratic council, in the neighborhood democratic council, on government boards, etc. Women have the right to vote, and others are voting for them. And more so, women since 2001, parties who are contesting elections must have 1/3 women on their list of candidates, or else they will be disqualified. And that was enshrined in the Constitution of 2001. My dear friends, we have moved from a time where educating a girl is no longer a liability, but we are in a place where, when we look at the secondary school levels and we look at it, universities and institutions, tertiary institutions across Guyana, we see more than 65% of our girls and women are graduating from this higher level of education. This is also something that there was a time when the Women's Progressive Organization and its leaders of the time used to knock on doors trying to convince fathers how they should educate their daughters, and that their daughters are not liability, but if you educate the daughter, you'll educate the family. Today, we are proud as an organization to be part of that historical past, and we are witness to this present and the future and what unfolds before us. We have moved from a society that victimized women to a place where women can work as public servants and be married with children and family. There was a time when women could not have been married and work in the public service of Guyana. That was one of the first things that Janet Jagan changed in the 1950s when she became the Minister of Labor, Health and Housing. Women who want to be teachers do not have to change their religion from Islam and Hinduism, but women can become teachers anytime they want in any part of Guyana, and they are free to practice their religion, whatever that is. We have moved from a place where women are no longer tied to the home and family to a place that was most undemocratic, where women had no voice and were not allowed to influence decisions that affect their lives. Women couldn't even decide how many children they had or wanted. We have moved to a place where women have freedom, not all, but most women have freedom of choice to use family planning, which is free of cost by the government of Guyana, by the way, at all health centers. Today, there are still facets in our society where women labor in the home is still considered or unappreciated and undervalued, or not even valued in some cases. These are some of the barriers that we are yet to remove from the path of women, where their labor, their contribution to the family and to society can be valued. Women today continues to multitask. They further their education. They have become lawyers, doctors, engineers, lecturers, pilots, teachers, nurses, police, and even soldiers, and many, many others. Women can be found in every single sphere of life. And while she continues to perform her traditional roles in the home, she worked excellently in the world, in the productive sector. She remains somebody's daughter. She remains somebody's sister, wife, mother, friend, employee, and sometimes those who recognize the need for volunteerism are volunteers. While others become career women and do not want to have a family. My dear friends, this International Women's Day, or this month of March, we have much to celebrate. We are also in the Women's Progressive Organization celebrating the life and work of Dr. Cherry Jagan, who died on the 6th of March, whose birthday will be on the 22nd of March. And we also will be celebrating the life and work of Janet Jagan, the founder of the Women's Progressive Organization. She died on the 28th of March, also 2009. Had she been alive, I don't know what she would have made out of this Zoom conference, because she is one of those old fashion politician who believe that the face-to-face interaction generate more warmth, more understanding, more togetherness. And the Zoom conference, she would have considered it to be abstract. But COVID, and we must give homage to the people who would have died between March of 2020 to March of 2022. 2 years ago, we had the first COVID death. I would like us to all send a word of prayer to the great beyond and to ask God to give those souls some peace. And let us continue to pray that this COVID virus leave our society and we can return to some semblance of life. My dear friends, this afternoon, we have some very interesting items on the agenda. And the first item we have is that our President, His Excellency Dr. Irfan Mohammed Irfan Ali, has been talking to us about something called One Guyana. I know since I am a child growing up, I crave peace, I crave unity, and I crave understanding between all ethnic groups in this country. And with the help of the First Lady, Her Excellency, our First Lady, Arya Ali, a song was developed called We Are One Guyana, and various artists sung that song. Alia, can you please play that song first? Thank you.
Bire mazak wuro nogong Morovia Komanodo Tiji Ningai.
We are one Guyana, a place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world. A place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world.
Yeah, some of we born on the hills, some on the low coastal plains. Plenty rice and sugar cane, same Guyanese blood in our vein. So make we burn out the hatred, time for erase it. Can't make that destroy. 6 races I share the same space in this 83,000 square miles.
We are one Guyana, a place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world.
Brother is a brother, no matter which religion is you. Could a Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Hindu. Sister is a sister, real and true. One big part of culture brew.
And all of we together could really make this dream come true. Of a brighter Guyana for me and you. Ocean to mountains, hear this tune. Take it cool.
We are one Guyana, a place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world. runs deep like a beautiful rivers for Guyana. Oh, and when we stand as one, mighty like Mount Jerima for Guyana, for Guyana. Our life would be beautiful, just like Guyana. She's blessed us with her own, just got to embrace her. They say one and alone can't clap, so let's put our hands together. Give her a standing ovation, this great nation, a little gem of this world, yeah. Guyana, place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world. We are one Guyana, a place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our
That was indeed an excellent song, and it talks about all of us, withstanding our religion, withstanding our ethnicity, withstanding whichever part of Guyana that we live. Most beautiful song. And I think we should all learn to play that song and remind ourselves what Guyana and what the Guyanese society is all about. On International Women's Day, the First Lady made a presentation that was about 20 minutes or so. And it was edited to about 2 minutes. A beautiful excerpt was taken from her presentation. Aliyah, can you please play that excerpt for us? Thank you.
Women have been fighting the longest battle known in human history, the battle for gender equality. And today, on International Women's Day, that battle continues. We are soldiers armed with knowledge and a resilient spirit which refuses to surrender to patriarchy. Our battlefield is not confined to geographic or social spaces. It is everywhere. In the home, at the office, in the gym, at the restaurant, even in religious institutions. Everywhere we venture, our womenness is either viewed or treated as less than. Yet, we wake up each day determined to be vessels of change, actively seeking to create a fairer world for our women and girls to exist in. So I wish to recognize your efforts today and commend women in Guyana and across the globe for not laying down your arms and abandoning this fight. So we need to keep fighting. On one front, we need to routinely engage in activities like these, which amplify the role of women in society and raise awareness about the issues which affect us. On the other hand, we as women and leaders must continue to create opportunities to support the advancement of other women and girls. Our fight will be long and brutal. It will continue to face resistance from every corner where patriarchy raises its head. But we must remain steadfast and unshakable. It is only by doing that will gender equality be achieved and victory guaranteed.
She spoke about patriarchy. She spoke about democracy. She spoke about equality. I once heard a quote that says, any society that victimizes and discriminates against its women, that society will never be free. So we also need to keep those thoughts in mind, and we need to work very, very hard to make sure that we train or we teach or we guide the next generation of men and women to respect and to love each other. At this time, we have Patsy Downey from the United Kingdom. I met Patsy a very, very long time ago. And Patsy has been a very dear friend, visiting Guyana almost every year, providing quite some support to WPO and its members, or those who are in need. She has been lending a hand in that direction from time to time. Patsy is someone who hails from Ireland, made a life for herself in London, and was married to a Guyanese, has some beautiful children. And by the way, I was only today made to understand that she's a naturalized Guyanese. No wonder when she comes here, she behaves like a Guyanese. But Patsy continues to remain a dear friend and never hesitate to share her thoughts, her vision with us. Today, we invite Patsy to bring greetings from the diaspora, the Guyanese diaspora in England. Patsy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Good evening, Madam Chair, Ms. Indra. And we have Ms. Sandra. Yeah, we were chatting earlier on, and all our comrades were here this evening celebrating Oslo. Thank you, Ella, for allowing me these few minutes. It's a very important forum for women everywhere. As Sheila said, my name is Patsy. I come from Ballina.
Patsy, can you speak up, please?
Oh, right. That's the first time people have said that. They usually tell me keep quiet. Anyhow, my name is Patsy Downey. I come from the Republic of Ireland, County Mayo. And as Sheila said, I am naturalized Guyanese, have been for like about 10 years now. And I'm an active member of the UK Diaspora Group, which has been set up some time ago. Previous to that, and for donkey's years, I've been with the PPP UK branch. I have been visiting Guyana since 1970. I go on a regular basis, and I could not help noticing over the years how Guyana was getting poorer and poorer up to 1992, and how downtrodden some women were being treated there. It was tragic. Things have now changed dramatically. Women are beginning to be recognized for their abilities and are included in some top positions. However, there is still a long way to go before women are treated fully on merit. I have to add, for the first time, post-1992 of visiting Guyana, I could not wait to leave in 2020. It was unbelievable what was happening. What was happening in our beautiful Guyana following the result of the democratically held elections. In my opinion, if women in Guyana are given greater roles, what happened during the 2020 elections would never happen again. The WPO is one of the greatest organizations to happen for Guyanese women. The WPO is an organization which continues to show what women in Guyana are capable of. For example, during the last election, WPO members were in evidence everywhere. Their contributions were unbelievable. Mutual respect it's definitely needed among genders. Women today, we're not the feeble, helpless ladies of the past. Given the opportunity, women can hold their own equally with men in most areas of life, and sometimes we even outperform them. May I suggest, and I really would like to see this happen, that the whole of March, not just one day, be recognized as International Women's Month. There should be many more internationally organized events and recognition of women everywhere. Women everywhere deserve nothing less. Thank you. And before I finish, I have to say, thank you, Janet Jagan, for what you've done for Guyana. Thank you.
We all have Janet Jagan to thank for establishing such a glorious organization and with such a rich legacy, with such a rich history, and to leave it with us. Sometimes we wonder if we are doing justice to that legacy that she left. But one thing that we know, we will always work very, very hard, as she would have wanted us to, for the women of this country, to ensure that the path that she has paved, the path she paved with all those other women that who walked with us, with her, sorry, when they look down from the heavens to us, they will be proud. They will be proud. At this time, I would like to invite another young woman from the diaspora. This time she is from Canada. Her name is Janet Naidu. Janet Naidu basically is a community leader and a social activist in Canada. She was co-chair of the Guyana Independence Celebration in Toronto a few years ago, and has been contributing to many causes in the Guyanese community, as well as in the Canadian mainstream. Janet is a human rights investigator of workplace harassment and investigation. She also provides policy and program advice to businesses and organizations on how to prevent workplace violence, harassment, and discrimination, as well as on fostering diversity and inclusion, focusing on anti-racism, anti-oppression, and racial and gender equality. Janet holds a BA in Political Science and Caribbean Studies from the university and a bachelor's at law from the University of London, United Kingdom. And only a few weeks ago, Janet Naidu launched an organization called Guyanese Canadians for Unity. And she holds the position of president in this organization. Please join me in welcoming Janet Naidu. The floor is yours.
She needs to unmute you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was a mouthful for your kind introduction. Comrade Indra Chandra Paul, President of the WPO and Chairperson of the Women and Gender Equality Commission. Distinguished participants, brothers and sisters all, good evening. Madam Chair, I thank you for this opportunity to bring greetings from Canada on behalf of the Guyanese Canadians for Unity organization. I just want to quickly mention that the organization, although when we talk about unity, sometimes people say, well, how will you achieve unity? And what I'd like to say about that is we are striving for unity. It's like carrying the boulder up the mountain and it keeps rolling down back on you. So it's never an ending process, no different than the work that the WPO started decades ago and continuing to struggle, to look at the progress and to look at what achievements that you make along the way, and for the future generations, for women to continue to carry the torch. So with that in mind, I would like to say that the Guyanese Canadians for Unity, and actually Friends of Guyana, is really the aim is to preserve and foster principles of democracy, equality, human rights, social justice, peace, prosperity, and unity for the progressive development of the people of Guyana. So what that means that many of us have left the shores of Guyana and we would like to give back. Volunteerism is in our blood, at least for many of us. This is why we have organizations that have emerged to not only get together, but to have that place that we call home. And so the association also aims to foster social engagement and our heritage preservation within the Guyanese Canadian community. So we do have a lot of work to do, and starting is always a good place to start. And whether we finish or not, whatever we put in, we will put in. I'd like to be able to say that I was really touched by the theme, enhancing women's potential for a transformative future, because on this, a celebration of International Women's Day, it is really a time to pause and take stock of our achievements, to recognize many of the stalwarts in the struggle in the WPO. And you mentioned, Comrade Janet Jagan. There's also Philomena Sahai Shuri, Christina Ramjatan, Kausala, Shirley Edwards, and no other than Indra Chandra Paul and Gail Teixeira, among many others who have paved the way and continue to pave the way for women of today, many of whom are here today and also will join the WPO to keep that torch and that fire burning. What I'd like to say about women is that there's so many things to talk about, but because my background is in the area of human rights and workplace harassment, I would like to be able to say that women's voice need to be enhanced, including when they're experiencing harassment in the workplace, that they need to develop systems and policies and programs in place so they can feel confident to come forward and not to be seen as a complainer. And they need the support of both men and women in order to keep making this transformation. I'd like to be able to say that they need mentors, and mentors as well as men and women. And particularly, we know for a fact that our men have been the majority who hold senior positions. And they also need to play a role in women's lives, in women's occupation, and in women's advancement, such that they become support in a respectful and professional way, in the sense that a woman does not have to, be seen as an object or beautiful. I mean, she needs to be seen as intelligent, qualified, capable, and can deliver, and to be given that opportunity for training and nurturing in any areas that she may need. So I would like to leave that on the table because especially after the Me Too movement, I read a study that was done by the Harvard Business Review, where men are distancing themselves from women, saying that, I don't want to be accused of harassment if I get too close. Well, if men take the role of treating women with respect and dignity and professional and qualified and capable, then they will have that one extra step forward for them to have that space in which they can flourish and grow and excel. So I know there's a lot more I can say, but that's what I'd like to say for now, is that we are thankful for all the women and men who are involved in the struggle for equality. We are grateful to our nation's leadership, and also including the First Lady, Her Excellency, the First Lady, for recognizing the importance of women's contribution to national life, and to recognize a great diversity of our women and the importance of inclusion as we work to improve the status and conditions of our Guyanese women, and of course, women here in Canada. So with that in mind, I'd like to be able to say, I take the opportunity to applaud the WPO for championing the rights of women, for your continuous struggle for better living and working conditions, and for the creation of safe spaces for women, for better education, and much more. Thank you, ladies, and I enjoy being here with you.
Thank you very much, Janet. Thank you very, very much. Among the things that you have mentioned, and was the recognition of Auntie Christine, Philomena Sahoy Shuri. I would like to, and Gail Teixeira and others, I'd like to add one more name. I'd like to add Shirley Edwards. There are also hundreds of other leaders of the Women's Progressive Organization who held this organization together, kept it going, gave of themselves time, effort, sacrifices to ensure that this organization kept alive. More so, Kausalya, on the 6th of March, 1964, paid the ultimate price by sacrificing her life for better working conditions, better wages, and for the recognition of a union of her choice. On the 5th of March, just a week ago, we were all at her gravesite at Anna Katrina, where we all laid wreaths and we remember and pay homage to the sacrifice of this great woman, this martyr, this heroine of the Women's Progressive Organization. Thank you again, Janet, for reminding us of Kausalya. At this time, Alia, we have what you call a motivational video, probably a minute and a half or so, where a few leaders around the world share their thoughts on what International Women's Day is. And they did so in just 1 or 2 sentences each. Alia, please play the video.
In one voice, the world declared, human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights.
Women are not even accepted as human beings. They are treated with injustice and inequality. Women are denied. They are neglected, even in the developed countries.
I am from Britain, and I think it is right that I am paid the same as my male counterparts. I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not. And the government will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. Now looking at his watch because apparently a woman's spoken too long.
So I think right now we have the chance to be heard, and that's why we're doing it. We're all doing it because we're asking to try and elicit change.
How do we use this moment to elevate what is happening instead of continually victimize ourselves?
It's our responsibility to make this world a better place. Yes, we play sports. Yes, we play soccer. Yes, we're female athletes, but we're so much more than that.
The women's movement of this world has mellowed. Our issues and our conversation has become issues for men. I get angry when I think about it. No woman should sit down and allow a man to speak about her reproductive rights. Until you've gone through that process, I've come from Africa to tell you you don't qualify.
Thank you. And those were the words of some of our leaders, and there were also 2 actresses, one from the United States and one from Great Britain. Words of wisdom, words that we should be repeating ourselves like affirmations, words that we should share with our sisters wherever we go, to empower them, to motivate them, to encourage them, and to get them to understand that they are beautiful human beings and they are not animals that should be controlled and shepherded in a flock by any man, because men do not have that God-given right to rule over us. At this time, we would like to introduce our first speaker for this afternoon, Sandra Ann Baptiste. Who is she? She is a Florida-based business and communications consultant and trainer. But is that who she is? Let's find out. Sandra was responsible for establishing the Guyana Office for Investment, the one that we call Go Invest, the one that today billions of dollars of investment are coming through into our Guyana. Sandra not only established the Guyana Office for Investment, but she was the first serving head of that department. Sandra Ann subsequently served as a consultant on investment and private sector development Ministry of Finance, and also managed an institutional strengthening project for the Guyana Manufacturing and Service Association, GMSA. Sandra is a specialist in Caribbean affairs, and she was a communications consultant to the West Indian Commission, set up by the Caribbean heads of government to review CARICOM. Sandra Ann is a publisher and editor of Caribbean Business and Travel, which is distributed to business leaders and organizations in New York, Toronto, and Florida. This is a magazine, and Sandra made a solemn promise to get me a copy of this magazine so I can see her prowess. Please join me to welcome Sandra, a long-standing friend, a born Guyanese, a daughter of this soil, someone who I know, if the time comes, will return to serve her beautiful country again. Please welcome her.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by thanking the WPO. Let's see if my video's off again. Okay, let's try again. Let's see. Not sure what happened there. All right, am I back on with you guys?
Yes, take your time, take your time.
Okay, just wondering if you lost me. So my video should be there, and I'm not sure if you are seeing me, but my video should be there.
The video is here, but we're not able to see you.
I'm not sure why.
Alia, can you provide some help for Sandra, please?
Yes, I was just about to. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Well, I'll start over again, and just wanted to say good afternoon, everyone. And I wanted to thank the WPO for this opportunity to share my thoughts on how women can reach their full potential, to transform their lives and make a more meaningful contribution to Guyana. I am blessed and honored to be among such awesome women and other participants. Thank you so much. I hope that you all had inspiring and memorable activities to mark International Women's Day this week. A lot has changed since I attended international women's conferences in Copenhagen and Nairobi. Women have made tremendous strides. We have had more women reach their highest potential as heads of government. Here in Guyana with our own Janet Jagan, Dame Eugenia Charles and Dominica, Trinidad and Tobago's Kamala Besessar, Portia Simpson in Jamaica, and more recently in Barbados, Mia Motley, who was instrumental in helping to restore the democratic process in Guyana. We have seen many more women ministers of foreign affairs, business, and tourism throughout the region. The cabinet of Guyana truly reflects diversity. And in recent years, there have been many more female permanent secretaries. So there are many women in Guyana in key decision-making positions who can empower their female team members to reach their full potential. Women have led organizations like the Tourism and Hospitality Association of Guyana, THAG. There is room, though, for more women in decision and policy-making positions in some of the other business service organizations. The Guyana Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry took the bold initiative to create a forum where women in business can have their voices heard using their own vehicle. The Chamber's mission is to assist women to realize their full potential through leadership, education, advocacy, and mentoring programs. In this regard, I commend the founding members, Kerry Gravesandi Bart and Lindell Dancy Black, as well as the current president, Rowena Elliott, who's with us today. In a short period of time, the organization has attracted over 60 members. One Guyanese business that has been empowering women for years is the Roraima Group of Companies, which is now led by Debbie Gavaya. Women represent over 80% of the company's management team and those with responsibility for airport ground handling, Arrow Point Resort, and the tours division. Ghana will undoubtedly see more women holding key positions in the tourism industry as a result of training initiatives in the local tourism sector, as well as through the Caribbean Tourism Institute, which offers courses and programs provided by the Caribbean Tourism Organization and the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, the CHTA Educational Foundation. While we have made tremendous strides, we still face a number of challenges. The International Labour Organization, the ILO, in a recent study, said women are still underrepresented on company boards and among top corporate executives. A survey of Caribbean countries by the ILO revealed that women represented 30% of managers in junior, middle, and senior levels, but only 10% of managers in executive roles in the Caribbean. There is therefore a continuing need to sensitize corporate leaders. There have been some positive movements in Guyana on better access for women entrepreneurs and small businesses to access finance, but more can be done. With Guyana's double-digit economic growth continuing and poised to be the highest in Latin America and the Caribbean in 2022 and beyond, experienced and new businesswomen should position themselves to take advantage of the multiple business opportunities available. The recent successful International Energy Conference and exhibition in Guyana, which attracted regional and international companies and investors, was managed by a woman, Angeline Abel, the CEO, who was supported by an all-female planning team. I met Angeline 10 years ago when I was an event planning consultant for GaiExpo, and she was serving as a volunteer. Since then, she has clearly maximized her potential to transform her future. There was a deliberate effort at that conference to involve women, including as moderators, because as you know, the oil and gas sector is really male dominated. Organizers are looking forward to seeing more female participation in the 2023 conference as more women become involved in the oil and gas industry. But women were visible at the Arts and Crafts exhibition on the sidelines of the conference. Women-owned companies and their employees can take advantage of courses in procurement and health and safety in the oil and gas industry offered by the local Business Development Center. They can also benefit from the center's second Accelerate Her program starting soon. This initiative allows women to access business acceleration workshops and professional mentoring to grow their business. Female entrepreneurs can also do courses offered by the Institute of Energy Diplomacy at the University of Guyana. In addition, they can equip themselves to get involved in various industries that support the oil and gas sector. Women should also take advantage of increasing opportunities in agribusiness and the services sector. It has become increasingly important for women to function well in today's digital-centric workplace. Because the pandemic has led to a huge increase in working from home, it is essential for workers to enhance their digital skills. Aspiring and new entrepreneurs can get valuable assistance from the Small Business Bureau, which offers excellent foundation courses. Guyanese women have been and can continue to benefit from the excellent programs offered by the Barbados-based Caribbean Export, including its flagship 12-module ProNet training program for SME owners who want to grow and expand their business and become more competitive. Their Services Go Global program includes a focus on conducting market research, developing a marketing strategy, steps to successfully enter the international market, and market intelligence. Women entrepreneurs in Guyana can reach out to Go Invest to see if they're eligible for assistance. And if you are in the services sector, you can contact the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association, GMSA. Later this year, Guyanese women, through the Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, will start to benefit from the Inter-American Development Bank's V3A program, which has Aspire, Accelerate, and Activate as major pillars. Under this program, women can benefit from training and capacity building and post-training support to ensure they are self-sufficient in the corporate world. One area which I strongly believe requires more attention is in the foreign service. We need more career diplomats. We should send more students to the Institute of International Relations at the UWI in Trinidad and Tobago. A graduate of that institution, I can attest to the invaluable skills to be gained from training in international diplomacy, international trade and economic development, international finance, and international law, as well as exposure to Caribbean and international diplomats when you attend that program and international trade organizations. And just to stick a pin there, in my time in the 1980s, we got a chance to study Venezuelan foreign policy, and Carlos Andres Perez, the president at the time, sent a private jet and took us to Caracas to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where we were able to discuss and observe Venezuelan foreign policy in the more progressive times in Venezuela. So that kind of experience that you get at the Institute is something I believe that our future diplomats would be can take advantage of if they go to the Institute in Trinidad, because you get to meet a lot of Caribbean and international diplomats, and it is an asset. I also believe that we should upgrade, both in government and business, some of the physical facilities women work in, as well as at our missions abroad. In addition, there is a need for adequate budgets, because women can empower themselves if they have the money to do the programs they need to do. And we need the adequate budgets and trained personnel, especially in the areas of investment and tourism promotion at our overseas missions. We ought to take a leaf out of the page of Barbados and Jamaica in terms of what their facilities look like in New York, Toronto, and Florida. I have always believed that women can best empower themselves through education and training. It does not always have to be through pursuing a degree. Completion of a short course or seminar can enhance their skills. Keeping current and employing best practices are also important. After establishing and heading Go Invest, I recognized one of the critical needs in Guyana was the lack of leadership and management skills. My consultancy and training group was established to address that need, in addition to promoting investment and tourism in the Caribbean through our Caribbean business and travel publication, which Sheila mentioned. I have been myself providing training programs and some of my colleagues through the GMSA and to several companies in Guyana for around 20 years. Providing training is my way of giving back to Guyana, and because there is always a high percentage of female participants in my training programs, this is my small contribution to helping empower women. We all know that our habits, values, and impressions are ingrained from childhood. I congratulate my Guyanese colleague and friend Janice Hall, who founded the We Are Gutsy Inc. company. Its mission is to coach and mentor children in Guyana to develop conduct and behavior that enable them to grow into responsible adults. There is all across the Caribbean, including in Guyana, a dearth of leadership skills in some areas. We can do much, much better when it comes to integrity, inclusive leadership, communicating with respect, and leading by example. It is most troubling the message some parliamentarians are sending to the country, particularly women considering a career in politics. I have had the unique opportunity to listen to parliamentary debates in the UK, Canada, and in one of the most politically mature societies in the Caribbean, Barbados, where I lived for close to 15 years. I've observed heckling and crosstalk among government and opposition parliamentarians. But we reach a new low when what should be a spirited debate degenerates into a brawl, and there is a repeated display of crass behavior. The lack of decorum reflects poorly on Guyana, both at home and abroad. On the subject of leadership, I commend the Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Prasad, for resuscitating and upgrading the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute. And thank you, Indra, you had a big role in getting this started, that institute as one of your babies, so to speak. I believe that women can be empowered to realize their full potential when they have strong role models and mentors. I was blessed to have as my lifelong mentor and friend William Dimas, the first CARICOM Secretary General and President of the Caribbean Development Bank. No matter where I lived, whether it was Guyana, Barbados, Trinidad, Toronto, or London, we were always in touch, and I was always getting the guidance, and I always knew what was happening in CARICOM, and I always was able to understand some of the intricate issues. I also learned a lot from and was influenced by the late Janet Jagan, Dame Eugenia Charles of Dominica, who became a very dear friend, and Jean Augustine, the first Black woman in the Canadian Parliament. Guyana has a rich collection of female role models from which young women and new entrepreneurs can learn from. I was lucky to be supported and influenced by many strong and dynamic women. These include business magnate Lila Kissoon, veteran manufacturer Jocelyn Dow, ICT leader Norma Daniels of CSR Computers, legal luminary Desiree Bernard of the Caribbean Court of Justice, the late editor Claudette Earle, CARIFORUM administrator Marguerite McMyer, the late Inji Natu, Secretary General of the Ghana National Commission to UNESCO, who also ran the GMSA Secretariat for many years, Gail Bindley Taylor, who spent over 30 years at the UN in various capacities, and her mom, who is here with us today, educator and social administrator Sheila George, who sat on the board of Demerara Bank for several years. Thank you, Sheila. I am also grateful to my support group, close friends Carolyn Singh, who is with us today, Paula Gonzalez, and former investment officer at Go Invest, Barbara De Silva, whose contribution to the agency was invaluable, especially her work to secure duty-free incentives for the hospitality sector. There are many women who have made sterling contributions in their chosen field, including veteran parliamentarian, Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance Gail Teixeira, Elizabeth Harper, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, UG's Vice Chancellor Palama Mohammed, Beverly Harper of Ansa Makal, Tourism Executive Debbie Gavaya, theater industry guru Jem Madhu, and fashion designer Donna Ramsamy, just to name a few. And I should also mention, of course, my mother, Matt Baptiste, who ran Matt's Record Bar in Georgetown until she was 90. And among our other leaders that I take my hat off to is my friend and colleague Janet Naidu, who has done so much for women in Canada, for the Guyanese community, and I'm honored to be on the same platform with her. Thank you, Janet, for your years of service. And on this virtual platform, we have an outstanding daughter of the soil in Indra Chandrapal, my friend and colleague for many years. A long-standing member of Parliament, former minister and PPP stalwart, she has uplifted women and has been a champion for equality, campaigning both at home and abroad, including in Barbados while I lived there, at the United Nations, and the Organization of American States. And lastly, but still on the subject of role models, I must also offer kudos to our First Lady, Arya Ali, for her commendable initiatives, including the provision of scholarships for vulnerable women, the menstrual hygiene program, assistance for visually impaired persons, and the National Beautification Project, which includes transforming the seawall area into a world-class riverfront that meets international standards. Guyanese women have a lot to be proud of. I applaud those who have made and are continuing to make outstanding contributions to national economic development, have empowered themselves to rise to the top in their chosen fields, and have left a rich legacy for the younger generation. As we recover from the pandemic and adjust to the new normal in both our personal and business lives, I encourage women aspiring to get to the next level or considering a new career in business to do some research on some of the leaders I have mentioned. Draw on the resources of local and regional organizations. Expand your skills and find a coach or mentor. It is within your grasp to maximize your potential and transform your future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you very much. How could I forget the role that Mia Amor Motley played in the restoration of democracy in March of 2020, and the months that followed. Sandra, when I introduced you to speak this evening, I listened to your presentation and I don't think I did justice to your introduction. You're not only a Guyanese daughter, but you're truly a daughter of the Caribbean also. You're an internationalist because you have taken what you have learned, what you have gotten from this society, this country that gave birth to you, and you are using it not only to give back to Guyana for what is it that you do in the Caribbean and further afield. Definitely, I would like to say that Guyana has come a far way, and we do recognize that there is so much more that has to be done. And we definitely must use the best practices from the countries that you have identified so that we do not have to go and invent the wheel, but to use what is available to us to ensure that we use those tools to empower our women. And I want to say that I was also fortunate to meet some of your role models. And as I speak, myself and Miss Saran sitting right next to me here, in our midst, we have our very, very own role model in Mrs. Chandra Paul. And she held for a number of years, almost 3 decades, she held the WPO, the helm, and kept it after Janet had handed that organization over to her to take care of and hand it over to the next generation. Leadership is something that we do not take lightly in the Women's Progressive Organization. We pay high levels of interest in our grassroots women. Guyana, the Women's Progressive Organization base is grassroots. We have groups right across our country. We have women who belong to WPO who may not be able to stand at a public platform and might not be able to eloquently debate a matter. But if you sit with those very women at a bottom house meeting, you will be amazed at the dialogue. You will be amazed at the knowledge and the strength and the information they have. But yet, we have a lot of work that we need to do to ensure that that dialogue, that knowledge, that experience that they garner from the grassroots, it can be transmitted to higher levels. And that is why I want to say When the People's Progressive Party got into government in 2020, it took a bold decision that we will be offering 20,000 scholarship to our boys, our girls, our women, and our men. And the coastland, the urban centers, and the hinterland. And yes, there is one hindrance that we recognized recently, is that the internet is doing very, very poorly in Guyana, and we have to work very, very hard to make sure that the internet services are improved. And due to that, the government took bold steps to ensure and invite persons and companies to invest in Guyana in the IT sector. And soon we will see that we are going to have very, very good internet that is going to reach everyone across Guyana, withstanding whatever geographic locations that they live. And those persons, especially our hinterland brothers and sisters, we are hoping too that roads, better roads can be available to them so that they can leave the hinterland and travel to the urban centers and experience the life that we have and life that we have taken for granted. And my greatest fortune in the Women's Progressive Organization, as it would have been Comrade Indra more so than mine, is traveling in the hinterland communities and reaching our women and recognizing the poor state of their conditions, that is their living. And WPO will continue to work diligently to make sure that we have inclusivity in all aspects of our society. Dr. Chedi Jagan, in 1996, when he launched the commission on the National Commission on Women, made a promise, and Sandra, you were around then. When he said at the National Commission on Women, my government will make sure that 1/3 of every board, of every government body will be women. And we were proud as a peacock in the Women's Progressive Organization when Mrs. Chandrapal took that legislation to Parliament. And that we all went there and we supported her. She was minister when that 1/3 became law in our country. And so many, many other beautiful legislation that she tabled in Parliament in the interest of our women. And Sandra, we will look forward for much, much more participation from you, because we believe that whatever you teach us will become part of what we have to do for the women who cannot do it for themselves. But for those who have the voice and can speak for the voiceless, and those who have the courage and the strength and the willpower to do for those who are still living in fear and living in subjugation. We still have those in our society. So Sandra, I want to thank you from the bottom of our heart in the WPO for a very, very enlightening presentation. Thank you very much. At this time, I would like Alia to show another very, very short video, a presentation, a motivational presentation, and it talks about what is a woman? What is a woman? Sometimes we think she is all manner of things, but just listen.
What is a woman? Is a woman bold?
How dare you?
Is she courageous?
I was arrested on December 1st, 1955.
She's a fighter, risk taker, lawmaker.
Were always rationalized as favors to women.
Educator, creator.
Anybody asked what I thought, I would write it.
You see a woman, she's a leader.
We, the people, have the power to build a better future.
She's a believer, high achiever.
Thank you for this award.
More a giver than a receiver. Woman of hope.
For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it.
For the next generation to not be so cold. Women give love.
I've given it to everyone I know. I love this book.
Women give light. Women are the essence of life. Is she everything that we said she wasn't?
Who will have the power to shape our children for the next 4 or 8 years of their lives?
Or is she everything that she said she wanted? Just look in her soul. We can see her light shine. What is a woman?
What is a woman? She is more than the external beauty. She's more than the color of her skin. She's more than the texture of her hair. She's a mother. She's a daughter. She's a sister. She's a friend. She's an economist, pilot, an engineer. But more than that, she's a woman. She's the reproductive force that gives birth to all of us. She nurtured and created our behavior, our attitudes, our consciousness, and she made us into who we are. Beautiful presentation. And that video was basically shown in a very, very timely way, because we're about to listen to a woman that thousands and thousands of other women in this country looked up to and continues to look up to. She is the president of the Women's Progressive Organization. She holds many, many other portfolios, including the chairperson of the Women and Gender Equality Commission. She was a minister of government from 1992 to 2001. And during that tenure, she was the vice president of SIM. Then she became the president of SIM, which is the women's section of the Organization of American States. Mrs. Chandrapal represented Guyana in many, many international forums, including the Beijing Platform for Action and the Beijing Conference, out of which the Beijing Platform for Action was developed. Mrs. Chandrapal held the executive position on the Women International Democratic Federation. She represented Guyana on the Commission on the Status of Women. And so many, many more portfolios she held that are too many for me to actually tell you. That I will leave for another forum. But what I will tell you is that no matter what heights Mrs. Chandrapal traveled or reached, she never forgot to keep her foot grounded on Mother Earth. She walked the walk, she talked the talk. She stayed grounded with her people. She stayed grounded with women. And that is the thing that showed what a woman actually could be and should be. She remained modest, kind, understanding, approachable. Mrs. Chandrapal, the forum is yours. Comrade Indra, your video is gone.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I would start by saying, wow, it has been amazing thus far. The program that you girls have put together has really made me feel so proud of this afternoon and all of you. And my friend Sandra, I know that you would have delivered. I know of your ability, so thank you very much. And let me also thank Patsy. Let me thank Morris. Let me also thank Janet. Powerful presentation, Janet. You are so passionate. And you know, among us here, Sandra referred to some of the outstanding women that are with us. But I also want to talk or to say to a dear friend, someone who has inspired and motivated me, Sheila George. Her husband was such a patriot to our country. Reverend George, as we all know him, Randall George, a friend, a patriot, a Democrat. And so to all our sisters and brothers who are with us, I thank you for being with us, for taking time to be here. And I'm not the person who will be doing the closing remarks, but it's important to make those remarks before I get into my presentation. And I will start off by joining with the General Secretary of our WPO, Commercial Veresami, in thanking all of you who have joined us in this virtual conversation this afternoon. We are seeking to bring our perspective on the discourse enhancing women's potential for a transformative future. It is against the backdrop of the UN theme, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. And I wish to start my presentation by quoting from a UN document, which was posted on November 25, 2019, entitled Transforming the Future of Work for Gender Equality Initiative. In it, it was stated, and I quote, "New technology, artificial intelligence, automation, mobility, new behavioral patterns, etc., are changing the dynamics of work and the skills required. Harnessing these technologies presents both opportunities for creating gender equal economic opportunities for women, as well as important challenges. Women in particular stand to gain or lose from the future of work due to persistent gender inequality. Globally, 40 million to 160 million women might face the need to transition between occupations by 2030, often in higher skilled roles. Ensuring women can successfully make these transitions and they have relevant skills in the context of the future of work is a key priority for the UNDP, end of quote. And this brings me to the topic which we are discussing here this evening. How do women make this transition when there are still challenges which they still have to confront? Challenges such as unbalanced burden of unpaid care, social norms, stereotypes, and workplace inequality. The negative stereotypes which hinder women from participating in the labor force also limit their ability to rise to leadership roles. Wage gaps, sexual harassment, and other forms of discrimination based on gender continues unabated. Women's empowerment and participation is necessary to drive global growth and sustainability. How do we enhance women participation for a transformative future? Very important question in my view. And that is whether there is a policy framework in place to deal with it. I would say yes, based on all the initiatives that are taken across various sectors. This information is not contained in one single document, but is articulated in a variety of ways. Another important question in my view is whether there is a political will to do so. And my response is an unequivocal yes. The budget speech of 2022 provides guidance on some of the measures necessary to create the framework for changes and innovation for the future. I'd like to focus broadly on the government's priority. And these priorities are contained in page 20 of the budget speech. And I repeat them for easy reference. Our economy is growing rapidly, but sustainably, based on a diversified, competitive, and resilient productive base. Rapid economic growth translates into abundant employment and entrepreneurial activity for the Guyanese people. Our people are equipped with the skills they will need to participate meaningfully in and contribute fully to the economic transformation that is underway. The infrastructural prerequisite for rapid transformation to a modern Guyana are in place with special focus on energy, transport, and climate resilient sea and river defenses. Our people have access to the highest standards of social services, including health care, water, and sanitation. Basic protection and support are offered to the most vulnerable in our society, particularly the elderly and the young, and our institutions are strengthened to ensure a peaceful, safe, and harmonious society, and one where citizens enjoy the highest quality of services throughout the country. I referred to the political will earlier, and this is the evidence of it. The Minister of Finance refers to the vision of the government to have an education system that delivers a modern and adaptive learning in order to have a world-class education. What are some of the measures that are in place to make this happen? And we need to look at some of the measures. And what are these? Improve school infrastructure, and that is something that we are doing. Improve access to education through cash transfer. And these are intended to improving school attendance across all levels. And this program targets both government and private school. And as a result of the inclusion of private school, 15,000 additional students will benefit, while approximately 174,000 public school students will receive cash grant. School feeding to support access and student performance at nursery and primary levels. Programs of formal institutions being made available online through virtual learning. Some of these are done through assistance from government and scholarship facilities, the hinterland and riverine nursery and primary schools. It is expected that 85,773 pupils will benefit from this program. Incorporating information and communication technology in the education sector through a comprehensive digitalization of the sector, 300 primary school teachers and 125 secondary school teachers will receive laptops and computing devices. 11,000 tablets and flash drives loaded with teaching materials will be provided to students at these levels. The number of smart classrooms will be expanded. For the first time, 260 schools will be monitored using the Education Management Information System, and more textbooks and science kit will be purchased. It is envisaged that 2,000 micro science kits for an additional 100 primary schools will allow for 100% primary coverage for the first time. Reforming teacher training for 2022 will see at least 3,000 students enrolled and more teachers being trained. It is expected that students to teacher ratio will be brought down to no more than 15:1 at the nursery level and 20:1 at the primary and secondary level. Tertiary education will be expanded to allow more courses online and also through in-person classes. The GOAL program, which our GS refer to, which caters for 600 online scholarships, expanding technical and vocational training through partnership between government and the private sector, to establish a Guyana Technical Training College at the former Port Moran Training School, additional training facilities for oil and gas, as well as tourism and hospitality sector. TVET will be strengthened at post-secondary level. About 4,500 young people are currently enrolled to pursue entrepreneurship and ensure employability. 9 secondary schools will complete a pilot of Level 1 Caribbean Vocational Qualification Program across various skills, including crop production, furniture making, electrical installation, and masonry. The Board of Industrial Training launched its website in 2021 to allow online application for the relevant courses. Since it was launched, 90,787 persons have visited the website and 5,150 have submitted their application for skills training on the same platform. Additionally, 3,086 persons were trained in various classifications of occupational skills training, such as engine repairs, shade house farming, refrigeration, and air conditioner repairs, introduction to photovoltaic systems, solar installation, maintenance and repairs, electrical installations, and computer repairs. 422 CSOs in areas such as ICT, tractor driving, licensing, maintenance, solar panel installation and maintenance, and another 650 CSOs will serve 220 communities across the 10 regions in areas such as tourism and hospitality development, food safety, prerequisites, good manufacturing practices, etc. Sustainable livelihood of hinterland communities, which is geared to purchase tractors, trailers, and to undertake economic projects aimed at enhancing the development of agricultural tourism. Initiative by the Ministry of Human Services to improve the level of female labor participation. One example is the BPO sector, where it is estimated 75% of employees are women. The We Live program was launched last year, and we also saw its continued success this year. 75 women businesses were given marketing support tools, including an app in an effort to promote and expand their business. And this will be an ongoing process. The Women's Innovation and Investment Network, WIN, was launched to provide women with training to increase their entrepreneurial skills and sensitization on critical issues, ranging from legislation on women's rights to social issues, including domestic violence and abuse. In 2022, WIN will be expanded, targeting more women and offering additional and advanced courses in culinary arts and technical skills for solar farms, among others. I have looked at the budget, and I only was able to look at education and a little bit on labor and a little bit on human services. And the amount of information and initiatives that are contained in there would have taken me quite a long time to make my presentation. But the point I want to make today, that there are initiatives in education and training that are there. And when we talk about enhancing our potential, I have brought these to the fore so our women can understand that they need to be so proactive in accessing these initiatives that are available. Excuse me. And I want to look briefly at information technology. The government network infrastructure was improved by the addition of 30 kilometers of fiber optic cable, together with the LTE coverage across communities in the Lower East Bank and Bartica areas. In 2021, 451 new services connections were made to public institutions and the public Wi-Fi bandwidth. And it was incorporated also to, equipped to at 139 sites. Installations of 35 IP phones to hinterland communities helped in providing free calls between villages, government agencies, and local landlines for 16,000 persons. The government has facilitated the growth of business outsourcing, which created an additional 1,131 jobs between August 2020 and the end of 2021. By the end of 2023, another 1,500 jobs will be created. In 2022, we will see 100 new service connections for additional schools, hospitals, and other public institutions. Also, in 2022, approximately 200 hinterland communities are expected to benefit for the deployment of the VSAT equipment to facilitate connectivity for the first time in many instances. Additionally, 167 communities are also slated to benefit from grants to make spaces ready to host ICT hubs, as well as from 400 laptops to outfit them. Government will expand its fiber optic cable network by 115 kilometers to deliver additional services to over 50 communities. What does it mean for us who are not au fait with the new technology? We will be able to connect easily with people, services, and information. Take the case of health. This can be the sharing of information so that when you go to one hospital, all your info is already shared and all your info is already inputted and can be shared across medical institutions. A police officer would have access to all the information regarding your license, etc. A tourist coming into the country, they will be able to link up with hotels, tour destination, car rentals, etc. As I conclude my discourse, I wish to refer to some challenges that women need to consider as we look to the future for better jobs, opportunities, and remuneration. More women and girls need to focus their attention on STEM projects because this will help to transform the way they work. This will allow them the opportunity to be in the STEM growth industry where there are more finances. And as I'm on the STEM program, I want to say at this point in time, I'm not wearing my hat as the chairperson of the Women and Gender Equality Commission, but to say that we have partnered with the University of Guyana, in which we created or we were able to establish the Gender Institute, the Institute for Gender Studies at the University of Guyana. And there is a program that is there that all students who would have participated in these programs in the university will be exposed to a module on gender. That is something that we encouraged. We signed the MOU with the university for that. Also, that every year, a graduating student in the STEM subject will be receiving a scholarship through the Women and Gender Equality Commission. And I know that Guyana has recognized there is need for more people in the STEMs, in the area of STEM subjects. And I know a lot of effort is being made to make it a reality. And this is something that is indeed welcome. And I refer to the challenge, and I identify the one where women need to get involved in the STEM subject. But women must also be able to agree with their partners for shared responsibilities at home so that they can have time to prepare themselves technically for whatever jobs they are desirous of undertaking. And as a matter of fact, yesterday, we were, as we observed the death anniversary of Dr. Chetty Jagan, one of the participants stood up and said, I want to say this, that when you think of Chetty, you can think of him as a feminist in the sense that he believed in the equality of women. And I was the chairperson for the event, and I said, yes, I agree. He was a feminist, but he also believed in shared responsibility because we have been told that while Janet will cook the food and
No,
say
go
to
ahead.
him, "Here is your dinner, Cherry." Cherry will say, "I will do the wash up. I will clean the floor. I will do all the work that is to be done." And she would have made the supper. So the point is that if we women want to be in positions of power, if we want to take advantage of the opportunities, we have to negotiate with our spouses to be, our partners to be, for them to understand that this is what you as a woman would like for yourself. And they must know that long before that you would have taken the bold step or the serious step that you want to get involved in a relationship. And that is something I believe we have to keep telling our women, this is what they have to do. I know that the women in Guyana are ready to seize the moment as they prepare to take their rightful place in our country's development. And I want to support the points or to underscore the statement that was made by both Sheila and Sandra in terms of role model. Guyana has produced a lot of strong women. I know that during my tenure as a minister, we had documented we put together a biography of women who have contributed to various areas of endeavor in our country. And also, as the chair of the Women and Gender Equality, we have documented a book of women of African origin on the occasion of the Year of People of African Origin, in which we also documented that history. And for our own WPO, we also put together a document, or should I say, not a biography, but a document of 50 women who contributed to the development of Guyana when we celebrated our 50th anniversary. I believe these things are very important, because if we do not have role models, it's like the song, "Where Are Your Heroes, West Indians? Show them to me." You need to know who are your women mentors, and we need to celebrate them and we need to learn from them. So I congratulate both Sandra and Sheila for reminding us that we need our role models, we need the heroines, and each one of them would have contributed in various fields. And whatever it is, we need to recognize them. And also, wearing the cap of the chairperson of the Women and Gender Commission, again, I must say that we started the program in which we look at Women History Month. And when Guyana celebrated its 50th anniversary as a republic, we hosted a huge exhibition at the Convention Center and honoring the women who have made contributions to Guyana from the time of adult suffrage until our 50th anniversary of our republic. So there are things that are happening. We need to do much more so that the young women of tomorrow can look back at the rich history and the legacy we would have bequeathed to them, so that they can take our country to another level. We may not, I am hoping myself and Sheila will be around to see our country. I mean, Sheila George, my dear friend, that we will be in a position to see Guyana being in a better place. It is our hope. It is our dream. This is what we have passionately fought for the women to have a voice. And Sheila referred to the fact that 60% of our women today are involved, those that are excelling, those that are coming out of the university, they are more than 60%. Our women have broken every barrier. They have shattered the glass ceiling, or the proverbial glass ceiling. But we must not rest on our laurels. There is much more to be done. And there is one thing that I believe you have to keep while you're fighting for new issues. You have to ensure that those benefits that you would have won before, you don't lose sight of those. You have to sustain what you fought for, but you have to keep fighting for more and more initiatives. And I think it's a task that we have to prepare our women in Guyana to undertake. And I know our women, the young ones, they're strong enough, they're vibrant, and they put us not to shame, but because we are a generation that do not understand the technology, we know how to go out there among all kinds of people and influence them by what we say and what we do. But today we can see how technology has been useful, especially in this period of the pandemic. So hats off to you women, all of you, you men and women who have joined us today, and for the young ones who have put together to help us in bringing this program to you. I want to thank you very much. To my friend Sandra, it was indeed a pleasure listening to you for the first time. And for a lot of you don't know that Sandra has been a very famous journalist in this country and in the Caribbean. And she has literally touched or has had close interaction with many Caribbean leaders and in different parts of the world. And the fact that she had agreed to be a part of this program makes me feel very honored to call you friend, because you have not let me down on the occasion that I ask you to step up or step forward to help guide us in this new direction that we are taking as a country. So once again, thank all of you. We've said together, we have all said a mouthful. So I will now hand you back to the chairperson, Comrade Sheila. Thank you very much.
Comrade Indra, I would like to thank you for reminding us of some of the things that has been unfolding in our society that is going to begin the transformational path that will benefit women, their children, their families. I would like to remind our participants that in the early 90s, when the Ministry of Housing was created, you were there as a junior minister within that ministry at the time, and you had responsibility for the establishment of several housing communities across Guyana.
Yeah.
And a process began that changed the entire dynamics of the property ownership.
Mm-hmm.
One that was policy oriented, and the decision that was taken was to ensure that every house lot that was given to a family, it must be in the name of the both parties. Prior to that, properties were basically owned by men. And then you went further, and then there were several pieces of legislations that were passed in the 1996 era that talks about maintenance and talks about property act, where division of property and maintenance of spouses for married women and children, divorce, and so many pieces of legislations that were improved. But to this day, I want to say that we have continued to ensure that women receive house lots as single parents and as married women. Their names are on the title. And that is something I grew up understanding, and I learned from a very early age that a piece of land gives you grounding, gives you roots, and it allows you to blossom and grow as you would plant trees and watch it grow and bear fruit. That is what a piece of land does for people. That is why in our manifesto, we have promised 50,000 house lots. And I know the government is working diligently to make sure that our people get the house lot so they can plant roots. so their family can blossom and grow in the houses that they have. And more than that, they're also building houses so that those families who are paying rent, they don't have to go and build a house and continue to pay rent. They move straight into the house, and the money they pay the rent with is used to pay the loan that they take from the bank to buy the house. So they just go turn the key and move into their house with their household items. And these are all wonderful, wonderful gestures that are all aiming to improve the lives of women in our country. I was hearing you repeated all those things that are going to be done for families. I must also remind you that when APNU took over government in 2015, they took away those school grants from the children. And now the PPP has moved that 10,000 to 15,000 and now to 25,000. Because we do believe that that money can go a very far way in buying textbooks, buying uniforms, and even help to pay transportation for children. So I am pleased with what is happening, and I do look forward to be part of this transformational future, although I don't understand it. I'm hearing a lot about local content, the oil and gas economy. We have to definitely hold another seminar, Sandra, where we can actually start talking about oil and gas and how women can learn to do these things. And I have my colleague here, Chandrauti Saran. She's the technical whiz what that is going on. She's tweaking, clicking, touching things on this computer that I don't know about. And she's telling me, stop reading from the paper, you can read from the screen. And I'm like, but I don't know to do that. She said, look, Sandra is doing it and you can do it also. So Sandra, those are all challenges that Comrade Indra is speaking about, and we all have to master the art, whether we like it or not. And we have to, COVID might be a very bad thing, but COVID has done some really good things for us. It forced us to learn how to use technology right this minute to have this Zoom conference, reaching people in the diaspora and other parts of Guyana. Whereas we used to have face-to-face conferences and it would take place at different forums, but people from far off places could not have joined us. You could not have joined us. Patsy would not have been able to join us, and all our other colleagues from Canada and the United States and so on. So I think from this conference, we are not leaving empty-handed. We are leaving with quite a few recommendations and things that we have to run with in the near future to ensure that we protect our gains and we also allow ourselves to sell the ideas to those who need it to be sold to so that they can buy into it. At this point in time, I would like Alia to play a short video, about a minute it is, and it is a new group that we form in Zealot on the east bank of the Essequibo coast, which is on the west coast of Demerara. And these women is a couple lines. They recite a poem. And I want you to see how talented, Sandra, some of our women are in the WPO. This is coming from us, from our hearts, our ordinary grassroots women. Alia? Alia?
Just a second.
While we are waiting on Alia to put the video, we will, as soon as that is done, Sandra, we will open the forum for a discussion where our participants can ask any questions or share any information. We will have a period of about 15 to 20 minutes. That section will be. And Sandra, I would like you to be the moderator of that question and answer for part. You and Indra will do that part. I will just be observing.
Are we starting now, Sheila?
No, let me see.
After the video. Okay.
What's happening with Alia, and if not, we. Oh, great.
Entitled Woman. My opinions, I have many. They're my veil of beauty. Don't you know? My scars, they decorate me shoulder to toe like a marvelous gown. I'm not afraid. Let them show.
My pride adorns me like fine jewels. I know my worth.
My strength, it protects me like a shoe handcrafted with care. I can go anywhere. Call me queen, like it's my name. I won't forget to take my claim. I don't care what they say. Being a woman can look this way. Our poem is entitled
I watched that particular video several times, and it brought a smile to my face every single time. And that is an impromptu thing that was done on the corridors of a school on the west coast of Demerara. So this section, I'm handing over to you, Sandra, please, for questions and answers.
Okay, I mentioned in my presentation that one of the recent positive developments we've seen is the establishment for the first time of a Guyana Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And the question that's been asked for some time is, why was it necessary to have such an organization? And what are the benefits for existing and new entrepreneurs, new women-owned businesses to join the Guyana Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry? We have the president of that organization with us, Rowena Elliott. And Rowena, if you're here, can you comment on those two topics as to why you thought it was necessary to set it up, and what are the benefits for women-owned businesses?
Hi, good morning. Good
afternoon.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you for everyone here for the invitation as well. And just leaning to what everyone can hear me, right?
Yes.
Oh, great. All right, just leading to what you alluded to earlier as it relates to the Women's Chamber of Commerce. So the chamber itself was recently founded. Our founders found it necessary that based on their own experiences and what they've been going through and observing, that the organization is something that's needed. We don't have one that exists, and I don't think there's actually one in the region. So that would also make us the first one kind in the region. Shortly after the launch of the chamber, or the founding of the chamber, we went into the lockdown due to the pandemic. So while we weren't able to do as much as we wanted to, just to go through, what our vision is, and that is ideally to be not just a local or regional, but hopefully create some sort of impact and bring the chamber and Guyana to the global realm as it relates to women empowerment. We wish to pretty much provide the opportunities and visibility for women in business through whether it's relationship building, personal and professional development, education, mentorship, and also partnership and alliances, just because we know things that we want to achieve, a lot of it, especially on a scale as it relates to national and regional, we can't do it alone. So the partnerships and alliances are definitely one of the important pillars or mission that we want to achieve. And as it relates to what our objectives are, we want to be able to create value for the membership through opportunities for networking, fellowship, as it relates to exchanges in lessons learned and collaboration. We want to build capacity for the membership as well through seminars, workshops, booth camps, because as I've learned over the last 2 years, because I've been, playing such a role in the chamber, is that capacity building is one of the things that our women entrepreneurs, our young women, and even I'd say older persons, but now getting into the realm of business, because a lot of persons now you find before, and even so more with the pandemic and what COVID has done, it's forced a lot of women to become a little bit more self-sufficient, because they've had to pretty much leave their 9-to-5 or 8-to-5 jobs to stay at home with kids who would have had to be in homeschool. So that really put a change in the dynamic as it relates to women and created, I guess, for the betterment of the country as well, and for us as females, created a lot of young entrepreneurs. So the guidance through capacity building we found is definitely necessary, and that's one of the things we want to focus on this year. We also want to be able to create revenue generation as it relates to fundraising to support the work that we have to do. And we have signature events, which is one of them will be, I think, that would be in the next 2 weeks on the 25th, which is our second annual Guyana Women and Girls Summit, where we use that time to highlight women, highlight young females, young entrepreneurs as to what they've been doing, how they've been contributing to as it relates to gender equality, breaking the bias, and just their work excelling in their specific areas, whether it's, sitting on, as I call it, in the boardroom or corporate women leading, or we go to the business owners. We also want to be able to educate the public. We're very new. And regardless of if we're going to be 10 years old, we're only about 2 to 3 years old. But even when we reach that 10-year mark of being in existence, you want to keep the education and sensitization of the public very relevant as to what we do and how we develop the programs that we do for young women and youth development and all of that. And of course, one of the biggest things that we're going to focus on, and the idea is why we want to get women from all walks of life and all sectors as it relates to business, is so that we can lobby as an organization and as a body for the rights of women in business and in corporate. They always say there's strength in numbers. And while somebody will be in Bartica and they might be, going through some sort of issue as it relates to starting a business or growing their business, and then in a specific industry, I should say, and then we have somebody all the way in Essequibo, and then we have somebody here in Georgetown. So your voices will not be heard as much if we all just sit in our different corners and try to talk. So the idea of strength in numbers is definitely one thing that we want to focus on and lobby as an organization, so that you're able to put forward suggestions, put forward programs, meet with governmental bodies, meet with other private sector agencies to let them understand the work that we want to do and what we want to achieve. And that, without a collaboration, generally we won't be able to move forward, which is why we say, as it relates to gender equality and breaking the bias, we need the men around us, our co-workers, our partners, our business partners, or people at the board level that are our partners. We really need them involved. Just one more thing, as in what we kind of value at the chamber would be transparency and integrity. We want to be able to have that, as the epitome of what we value. And so that persons will understand that it's not just another organization that is saying that they want to do this and saying that they want to do that. We want to be able to have accountability and promote health and wellness as well. So those are some of the things that we really value and we want to push forward with, so that when persons approach us, they understand that they are coming to a very reputable and capable agency or association in the as it relates to women empowerment and women in business, pushing that forward.
Thank you very much, Rowena. Very commendable initiatives, and I can see that the Chamber's leadership is in very capable hands. I don't know if Janet has any questions that she may want. She's always thought-provoking and so forth. Any questions that you have?
I see Indra has her hands up.
Oh, sorry. I do apologize, Indra. You go right ahead.
No, it's okay. I just want to say, let me thank Rowena very much for the initiative they have taken. I wish them all the best. I know it's going to be challenging because when we think of patriarchy and the behavior of men in positions of power, one has to be mindful of these realities. But it's a very bold step that you all have taken. But I want to make this proposal because we have a problem in Guyana with standards. The best hotels started out, they serve you well, it lasts for a few years, and then everything starts falling apart. Everywhere in this country, there are very few places that really you can go and have a sustainable standard of well, let me call it a sustainable standard of operation or something like that. Because a lot of these people, I don't know what is happening. I had an experience, I wouldn't call the place yesterday. How can you provide, let's say, a dish to someone, and the lettuce, the leaf of the lettuce, you can see it as if it's, you know, it's not properly washed, clean, stuff like that. We have a problem in this country, and I would love if maybe the chamber can look into something like that, where you start out with projects or programs or whoever for those businesses that are, especially in the hotel area, in those places where people can go and have something to eat. We need to maintain standards.
Indra, I'm glad you raised that. I had a whole discussion yesterday. My group has worked in the past with TAG, the Tourism and Hospitality Association, and we have been discussing that up to yesterday, and we will be going back to TAG with a proposal to raise service standards in the hotel sector.
Yeah.
Based on some recent feedback we thought we'd have to bring in our hospitality trainers again through TAG and talk about service that people are receiving and how we need to improve and standardize and how we need to exceed expectations. Because right now, you know, there is such disappointment when people come to large establishments, medium, and they're expecting a certain standard. And from what we're hearing, there was a big discussion in my group yesterday. So we have agreed, and I'm glad you raised it, and I hope that you'll be happy to hear this, that we are going to approach TAG about doing another seminar and bring in 2 of our hospitality people who can not only do a seminar, but we have in-house people. They can go and actually go into the industry and spend a couple of days or a week and say, okay, let's observe your service. Let's tell you where you can do better, because we need that apparently. And thank you for raising that.
Yeah, Comrade Indra, I have a question. Indra?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm listening for the question, or I'm waiting for the question.
Yeah, I was listening to the news, I think a few days ago, and this morning again. And with the war in Ukraine, the price of wheat will be going up because wheat, corn, whatever. And I know in our WPO book, there's a paragraph that you wrote about when there is war, and you would have mentioned it at several of our seminars, that the women are the ones that suffer the most in terms of management of the home and so on. Can you say for now, in this present era, what are the economic challenges that women will face in Guyana and overseas? But I would like for you to deal with us here in Guyana. What, you know, how are we going to deal with it? I mean, it's coming. It's already here.
Okay, you have a situation, you know, once we live in such a global, we live in a global village, if you want to say that, because technology has brought us so close together. We see everything. We see all the things that are taking place with the war. But we've had worse wars. We had the Second World War. You would have had the First World War, but nobody knew what was happening. But this one, because of the technology, we were able to see and hear everything that is taking place, the sufferings. But there is not an equal hand in the way we are seeing things out there. Because when you think about how some refugees are treated as compared to a certain set of refugees, you can see there is not, I'm coming back, not an even hand in dealing with them. But coming to the question of the repercussions or for the global economy right now is affected because oil that has been produced and being sold to the European Union and many other parts of the world, because of the sanctions against Russia, they will not be able to sell their oil. That will have an impact. If you're going to buy oil from United States, it will be very costly. And that is why we have seen the United States government courting Venezuela so that they can get oil and wouldn't face that problem. You also have a situation where the European Union people depend a lot on the oil from Russia. And by placing sanctions on Russia, literally, they have created a whole lot of problems for themselves. So wheat, Ukraine as well as Russia, those countries produce wheat, especially Ukraine. And if you are in a war situation, people don't think about production. They're thinking about safety of their citizens, their homes, their families. And production is least on their mind. You will use all the wheat and all the productions that you would have had stored away, but then that is exhausted. And what will you do at that time? Then you have also the fertilizer industry. Russia send fertilizers to different parts of the world, and that cannot go out. That will have an impact on the agricultural system. And then you also have the question of raw materials that are needed for all kinds of things, whether it's the batteries, whether it's for computer parts, for all kinds of things. You have a situation. And I'll tell you what I'm doing these days. The only news that I'm watching is Bloomberg. Now, me looking at Bloomberg, what do I know about the economy? What do I know about how the world or the world of commerce? I don't know much about it, but I find that when you listen to Bloomberg, you're able to get a sense of the economy, all the challenges that you will be facing in terms of the impact of the war. And when you look at all the prices that are, the price of gold today, in the morning, it is one price. By the time midday, it's another price. The price for platinum or aluminum and copper and all of these things, it varies all the time. And it is having a great impact on our economies across the world, so that the cost of living automatically will go up. Now, you need fuel to transport all the containers that are coming to bring food, don't we? So if the containers will not get adequate fuel, how will they move? How will they be able, the trucks will collect all the food, they will ship them in the containers, they will send it to wherever it is. All of this will have an impact on the cost of the things that we buy at the shops. So the war is definitely impacting on the world population, because, as I said, there is this integration, we are in a global village, and because of commodity trading that we see going on among countries, all of this is having an impact on people all over the world. Europe will suffer more, because they had the dependency or the integration of Europe and the proximity of Russia and Europe, because they're all part of that continent there. They will have a great impact. We are seeing the cost of living rising, and I was quarreling the other day about even things like our fish. We can't really get fish to buy in abundance like how it used to be. And somebody told me dog food, the biscuit that you buy, the dog food, you can't find it in the market. So what people used to do, they used to buy the dog rice, the puppy rice. But now that is not on the market as well. And what we will be seeing, because everything, the dependency on oil to move the world economy. And if the war is creating an impact, because the shortages or the sanctions on Russia is having rippling effects on Europe. That cannot be avoided. And we have not begun as yet to see the impact of all of that that is taking place. It is now, we're now only seeing it evolving, but it will get worse as we go along. So we have not recovered from COVID, which has really impacted the lives of people. Production, because of the fact that people were dying, they are affected. A lot of people have not been getting into productive activities because of the impact of COVID on their lives and all the restrictions they've had to go through and all kinds of things. We're seeing production also. Supplies are affected as well. We witnessed recently the Canadian strike, all the strikes that you were with truck drivers and so. So the fact of the matter is, when those big countries sneeze, we all catch a cold, so to speak, here. And that has always been so. It's now even worse because of the fact that, that we were all, the world is no longer this place that is so big that we didn't know about. Technology has made it possible for us to sit in our sitting rooms and to see everything that is happening in all over the world, good, bad, and otherwise. So we're all, we're all consumed by what is taking place in the world. And we need to work for peace, because we always say, without peace, women cannot be developed. And I want to tell you this. Think as we are celebrating International Women's Day, 1910 International Women's Day was recognized, and the celebration started in 2011. And we're always reminded that 100 men and women marched in Europe for International Women's Day. And right after that, you had the First World War. Remember that. We didn't have peace for very long. By the time that, we had the Second World War. I think it started in 1935, ended it somewhere in the late 40s, mid 40s, 1945 or thereabout. So what has happened to women's development? You can't think about these things. What countries are busy trying to build back their infrastructure to recover from the ravages of war, the loss of human life and limb. And then as we talk about empowerment of women, development of women, we talk about 2030 SDG goals, SDG goal 5, gender equality 50-50. Look what has happened in Afghanistan. Afghan women who have had a level of had development, what has happened to their lives? They can't go to school anymore. The women can't even have a job anymore. They have become faceless, invisible. And what is happening now to the women in Ukraine and I'm sure the women in Russia are also very much affected by what is happening, because they will be losing, with all the sanctions, their lives and their way of life will be affected. Their sons will go to war, and we don't know the outcome. So we live in a very troublesome or a very problematic period in our lives right now. So
totally,
sorry,
totally
Saran, I can't tell you in one word, in one sentence about this war and its impact, but we need to look at the bigger impact that it will have on us, and it is already having on us.
If I may make an intervention on the issue of rising food costs and food security in the region, I cannot tell you how many articles, interviews, and stuff I did in the 70s and 80s on what was called the Regional Food Plan, where we talked for years about how we were going to buy more Caribbean, grow more Caribbean, and become more self-sufficient. One of the things that I did many times when I was in media, and I specialized in CARICOM, if I go to the supermarket in Antigua or St. Lucia or Jamaica, I go to see how many CARICOM products are on the shelf. I talked to the ministers of trade about why are you importing so much when we have it in Guyana? Why is the hotel industry not buying more papaws and pineapple and fruits from Guyana? And for years they talked, and they changed it then to the food and nutrition strategy. And for years, every leader talks about, the high food import bill from outside the region. And only now, this week, recently, that President Irfan Ali has taken the bull by the horn and said, we are going to do it. We are going to provide land for agricultural development. We are going to make sure that this happens. There's no more time for theater, he said. And it is about time that we significantly reduce extra-regional imports, supply our partners across the region. We have the land, and he said he is going to work on the technology, and we are going to be finally the bread
basket of the Caribbean.
We've got to stop talking about it, because that food import bill can help to alleviate some of the problems in times like these.
Yep.
We don't have to rely on imports from Europe and the US when we can be self-sufficient in many areas. So I wanted to just throw that in, that's a mitigating effect in times like this.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, giving both two slant to this, but I also want to say that, add to that by saying that Guyanese, like all people in the Caribbean, have to tighten their belt around their waist and prepared to ride the impacts of the war that is occurring in Europe, because I remember Comrade Chetty used to say, when the first world sneeze, the third world catches the cold. And what is happening there is going to impact on us largely because we are a nation that uses a lot of bread and a lot of roti. And we will suffer a lot for the wheat and so on. And we are already seeing the cost, the high cost of gas. Even though we are oil and gas economy, we are still facing, because I have to go fill my gas tank tomorrow, my car, and I'm sure I'm going to pay about time and a half. It's about like how much? About 25 to 30%. I saw it from $210 to $240 something per liter. So it's gone up like about 30 something dollars in the last couple of days, and it's going to keep going up. And hopefully this Putin can end this war quickly and our lives can go back to normalcy, because we're still fighting COVID. Sandra, we should take maybe one more contribution, and because we are way past our time, if anybody else wants to make a contribution, and then we can wrap up.
Anyone?
Patsy put her hand up. I noticed Patsy put her hand up. Go ahead, Patsy.
She's on mute, I think.
You have to unmute yourself, Patsy. Patsy. You have to, Patsy, you have to unmute your mic. Unmute the bottom. On the bottom left, unmute your mic, Patsy.
Okay, move on.
I'm there now.
Yeah, great.
I wanted very quickly to add on to what Corinda was saying and what you were saying about wheat, etc., etc. In the UK, I think our gas has nearly doubled in price, and the shelves are empty. Indra, you mentioned about dog food. Well, my daughter lives in Orlando and she shops in Publix, and certain cat foods you can't get either. The shelves are literally emptying. And I didn't know that Ukraine were a massive producer of potatoes. We love our Irish potatoes. And I hope we can still get our Irish. I just want to put that little bit in, because it's my granddaughter who works, she teaches special needs children. She uses her car. She's now using public transport to work because gas is so expensive.
Yep.
It's how it is. We have to think of the people in Ukraine. We have to think of what they're going through. And we have to be with them 100%. And if we can't have our roti, well, we got to do without it. Simple as that.
We'll eat cassava, Patsy.
I make 9 bag and choker. and I love cassava. And we get cassava flour here. We get it all here, the farina lot.
Don't tell me you're sending us back to the 80s, Indra.
Well,
I didn't say roti. I said cassava.
It's heckling, and you're reminding us what we don't want.
Don't worry. We got through it then. We get through it now. It's
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely will. We will. We are a resilient people.
Janet wants to speak, and Sylvie.
I think, yeah, Sylvie first.
Okay, thank you. I am Sylvie from ACG, and I just want to touch on what Comrade Chandra and Comrade Sandra said. It seems to me like Guyana is suffering to become a sustainable economy. I'd like to pinpoint a few things why that is so. We have to take into consideration migration. Some of us are grown-ups. We have the young adults who are struggling because we're separated from our parents, our older brothers and sisters who would normally be our teachers in our home. And to touch on the lettuce issue with Comrade Chandra, she was saying that's the part that's missing. And I strongly recommend that home economics be introduced into our communities and into our schools, because education is an ongoing process, and especially when we're in a developing country with an emerging new generation. Like I was fortunate to spend 2 months recently in Guyana, and I observed, am I still there?
You continue talking, yeah.
Yeah. And my observation was that this is missing. I saw the kids, they're struggling on their daily lives and stuff like that. And the lettuce issue will be resolved if there's an ongoing home economics, because that will be covered in school. So the emerging new generation that's growing up will pick that up from school, because they're missing their parents who is outside working, or their older brother and sister who was migrated because they just got married, right? So you're left there alone to struggle with all of these issues, and where it's going to come from? Obviously the school. So I strongly recommend that home economics be taught at every level in the schools and also into our local communities. That's where our group in Guyana, there, the women's group in Guyana, can go into our communities and have home economics be taught. And the issue on the tourism hospitality thing that Comrade Sandra mentioned, she mentioned she went on over and over again through media to express grow local, use local, stay local. Ghana is a self-sufficient economy. We are powerful and we can strong and we can survive. We can survive the war. I don't think it's that the wheat we're gonna be missing. But again, it's education is an ongoing thing. We have to teach our children to use local, grow local, and go local. And then it would be a smooth sail from there. Because that's my analysis from what was there, that's missing in our system, because we have an emerging new generation, and our mentors, so to speak, some have passed on, some migrated, some is married, moved on. And so our new generation is what should I say, deprived, so to speak, of this fact that's, should be there. Right? Like someone should not have to be telling their 10-year-old, I think that's way too young to tell a 10-year-old, to cook and, have food on the table and stuff like that, where that should be done by your parents or your older brother and sister. Thank you.
I just wanted to say one thing, that as far as I know, home economics is taught in at least some of the schools, because I've been chairing a charity called Friends of St. Mary's for the St. Mary's School, Roman Catholic school that eventually became St. Mary's High School. And the students there do home economics. They have a home economics department, and they have been teaching that in schools, in that school I know, and I'm sure in many other schools.
All the secondary schools across Guyana. And it is also a written, it's a part of the CXC examination too. You can write home economics.
Well, but food preparation has not been included because otherwise Comrade Chandra would not be mentioning about the lost lettuce being
It is something we can actually, we can look into it. We can look into it and see, because everything that is being offered, I'm sure there are some weaknesses that need strengthening and to build on.
Yeah, well, there's another issue too that needs, but it's not solely on women. Actually, it's a government initiative to control the pest control, where flies and mosquitoes are taking the best of everyone, and that's a government initiative. It's not only a woman initiative; it's a government.
Right, the mosquito just bit me under the table.
I think Janet had a question.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Well, I actually have a comment and a question. And the comment I have is the recognition of how many Guyanese have left Guyana for decades, and Guyana is growing
35%.
a new generation of people, young people, and building on the the diversity of our nation. And as I understand that, there are more immigrants into Guyana, and so you have different people. And it crossed my mind that when immigrants first started to come to Canada, they faced, negative treatment, such as go back from where you came from, or, why we have these people here, things like that. And whether organizations are dealing with this kind of situation in Guyana. That's what my question really is around.
But not specifically to do with women, though, just generally.
Yeah, I was thinking that I had heard that some women who have migrated from Venezuela and want to start up a business, at least a couple that I've heard of, have had difficulty with being the new kid on the block, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Well,
maybe there is an organization they can join to get support and maybe help or something. This is not a countrywide situation. It's just an isolated piece that I thought maybe Guyana may face this in the future, because Canada faced it.
Well, if I may say that Canada is among the developed countries, Yeah, Guyana is a developing country, and we still have a very far way to go to achieve the type of levels that we would like to have. The fact that we're having people coming from some Brazilians, some Venezuelans, some Haitians, some Cubans, we're becoming a melting pot. Our people, we have some Chinese. So what is happening in the country? You can go any part of the country and you see immigrants. And I think initially it was a little bit problematic because people were beginning, they never had such a situation before. We were all going to other people's country, but now people are coming to our country. So, and a country where you still have not enough jobs, you have a lot of social services that need to be upgraded. We're growing. We have literally taken a few steps up the ladder, but we still have a long way to go. And so when people come here, you have all kinds of situations that would have emerged. If you come here legally, if you come with your necessary papers, you get those regularized, it should be okay. Remember, we had a famous case with the Haitians, a few Haitians who came and their papers it was so suspicious because it was felt that they were being used as they were being trafficked, go on to Brazil and wherever. And a government had to take them into protective care. And that had posed some challenges, you know. But the situation that we have is, I see now that a lot of foreigners are integrating into various communities and they're finding acceptance. There will always be those who have a difficulty with them. I will tell you this, I have seen foreigners came and they're doing the jobs of carpenters, they're laborers, because they have to survive. They need to survive and whatever, because we have done this, our people have done this in Venezuela, in Suriname. They've gone to different parts of the Caribbean, they've gone to North America, whatever jobs that are there, they take it because they have to pay their bills. Similarly, that situation is happening here. I know, for example, there was a case that I know of where these people had 2 children, where we literally were mobilizing some food stuff and clothes and all of that through one of our NGOs to help them. So it's not that, I would say, it's not the situation like you may have in Canada, but remember, you know, our people are still poor, they still need, but they're generous, some are generous, but it is something that I will see evolving in a much more organized way at a later stage. They will find acceptance among the citizens. Hopefully, jobs will become available for them. And like every country that has to deal with migration and refugees, it's not going to be easy sailing. But I think our government is not averse to helping them. They go out of their way to help them. So things will get better. I'm very hopeful about that for them as well.
All right, ladies, we have really had a very exciting, very educational program. I think I've taken notes on about 4 or 5 pages of whatever has been said. Some of them will be taken very seriously into consideration by the organization. We know that in the WPO, while we prepare to deal with this transformational future that beckons us, we will also have to overcome many challenges, and we are not over the COVID pandemic, but we are approaching the after effects of the European conflict war that is taking place there. We will see the side effects of that will directly impact on the lives of our people in Guyana. And we know exactly when gas goes up in a country, everything goes up, the price for everything goes up, because we are still dependent heavily on gas for energy. At this time, I would ask Chandrauti Saran to come and say thank you to all you wonderful people who have spent 2 hours of your valuable time with us this evening, and to share your thoughts, share your ideas, and encourage us to overcome challenges that are before us. Chandrauti Saran.
Thank you, GS. Thank you very much. It is indeed a privilege this afternoon, and well, it's evening now, to be in the company of Comrade Indra, who has given almost more than 5 decades of her life, to be in the company of our GS, who has given over 4 decades of her life, and to you wonderful, wonderful, dynamic women that have attended this symposium here organized by the WPO of Guyana. I would like to say that the strength of the WPO goes way beyond today, and it goes to Comrade Janet Jagan, Comrade Indra, who were there for all these years, and we continue to go from strength to strength. And I consider myself very privileged this afternoon. I need to point out at this point that today, a very great man came from India to Guyana. His name is Sadhguru. And we were all decked up and we went and we listened to him. And he was talking about inner engineering. And sitting here with you women, the inner engineering was here this afternoon with all of you. Let me thank President of the WPO, Comrade Indrani Chanapal, our Secretary of WPO, Comrade Sheila Veerasammy, Comrade Janet Naidu, who is now the President of Guyana Canadian for Unity. Our main speaker, Ms. Sandra Ann Batiste, Comrade Patsy Downey, UK, and other comrades from the PPP of UK branch, Parvati Dutt, West Coast, and all those comrades who I did not call by name and who are there working, supporting, building, nurturing, and making the WPO what it is today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming and make this evening here a success. Thank you very much. Long live the WPO.